you had some reference points. You had study this. This is after you study Buddhism. This is
Hmm.
also after your first ayahuasca psychedelic mushroom experience at 16, right?
Yeah, I'd had several psychedelic experiences.
So would you say because of those reference point, that makes you feel like, oh, this is actually my first spiritual awakening experience. It's okay. Versus someone who has never had any kind of teachings or visceral experience would be like, holy shit, what's happening?
I think that's accurate. I think that's accurate. Yeah. The psychedelic experiences that I had, when I started using psychedelics, I thought, as a naive kid, thought this will be cool. That will make colors change and it's supposed to make sound different and stuff like that. Little did I know I was going to be playing with the very behind the scenes experiences of consciousness and going, whoa, this is way more profound than I thought it was. And it was through psychedelics and also my relationship with nature that I was attracted to Buddhism. And that, yes, that happened before. So my interest in Buddhism began around probably 1997, something like that, 1997, 98. And also I had done some studies of both yoga and Aikido prior to my injury as well. So I did have some reference points for mindfulness. I never thought that I could actually just dissolve completely and become the breath. That was a whole other thing.
What kind of yoga did you do? Because pardon me for the ignorance, but in my mind, yoga is very entire body. So what would you do as a paraplegic?
Actually, since my injury has happened, so I actually dove deeply into a practice called continuum movement, which is what brought me out to Los Angeles. Continuum is a phenomenal practice, somatic practice. It was created by a woman named Emily Conrad. I was amongst very few people who had the opportunity to study privately with Emily. She was revered in the somatics community around the world for the depth of the work that she did. And the work really, how do I describe it? It involved using one's awareness and creation of sound and breath and wave like undulating movement in the body as a means by which to unwind trauma. And when I say unwind trauma, not only personal trauma, but the collective trauma as well.
Interesting.
And and when I refer to the collective trauma, one of the things that I'm referring to is the way in which, as human beings in modern culture, we've really lost our connection with the body. And by bringing your attention in an exploratory manner where you are simply curious, you're spending hours in a state of curiosity about what's going on inside the body with just an open state of attention. There's so much. In fact, I did this last night. I went to bed early last night and I was awake for a while. And for a few hours, I did nothing but the most minute movements in my body. And when I say minute, I'm talking about just moving my fingertip as little as I possibly can, but
Mm.
maintaining my awareness inside the fingertip, doing these micro movements in the fingertip.
Mm.
Now, you'll notice if you practice this, it's like really challenging to keep your awareness inside your fingertip with such a subtle degree of connection
Mm.
because we tend to fall out and go into our heads. And this is where we become disembodied. The continuum movement practice that I studied and that I still work with is I would call it a re embodiment practice.